Welcome to video 23 in the Calmness in Mind series. I'm John Glanville, and in this video we're going to explore how we can positively influence our circumstances through new behaviors. Okay? And correspondingly, what actions can we take to minimize that which may be distracting us from getting on with our life? Now, in my last video, I introduced you to the concept that other people tend to treat us not in line with who we are, but in line with the virtual reality story they have of who we are in their minds. And therefore, it makes a lot of sense, wherever possible, to ensure that their virtual reality story of us, which of course equates to how they treat us, is how we wish it to be. Plus, if you don't know how you wish it to be, it drives you to ask yourself, how do I want them to treat me? And if you're smart, you'll be investigating whether your virtual reality stories about them are relevant to who they are today and not based on your past experiences of them. Now, to help you to do this, I would like to teach you a simple model that helped me enormously. Because as I took more responsibility for what I said and for my behaviors in each moment, it pleasantly surprised me how responsive other people became. And of course, if people treat you better, if they listen to you more, if they respect you, this will increase your self-esteem, which is always a good thing. So in this model, we break our communication skills down into 6 practical perspectives. Virtual reality, the characters, our best face, warriors, settlers, and nomads, your energy signature, and number 6, which I'm going to talk about later on in this video. So let's explore those a little more, starting with number 1, virtual reality. What is their story of you, and do you know it? And if your mind jumps to something like, well, I'm not nice to them, but it's only because they're never nice to me, well, this might be true, okay? However, your continued behavior will ensure that their virtual story will never ever change. Therefore, this cycle probably needs to be broken. Remember, you have 3 options in any moment. You can change things, accept things, or remove yourself from those things. And in this model, we're looking at the change option. Remember that you're the one doing the work. You're the one learning new things, not them. You're the one taking more responsibility for the outcomes of your life. You're the one looking to find more calmness. So perhaps being nice to them with repetition may influence how they start behaving towards you. I mean, conversely, you might stand up for yourself, okay? So it becomes more uncomfortable for them if they mistreat you. Only you will know what's best for you. Now, the second positionality are the characters that live within our minds, which I discussed in video number 13. The judge, the victim, the pleaser, the rebel, the wounded child, the joker, the facilitator, the princess, and all their little friends. Which of your character is your mind projecting from in any moment, and which of their characters are listening, responding, and reacting to you? There's no point in your rebel saying to them, let's jump in the car and go to the beach, okay? When their victim is listening, and that victim might feel guilty about taking a day off work. So through awareness and influence, what could you do before asking those questions to switch their minds from a victim stance perhaps to a more playful one? Now, the third positionality is called best face, where you try to fit in or act differently to project the good side of yourself. In many cultures, it's often taught or learned during childhood. Don't let the family down. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't embarrass us. Make sure you're seen to be doing the right thing. And of course, this may mean you occasionally have to lie a little or lie a lot. And consequently, those around you may develop a misleading virtual reality story about you. They think you're loving university and doing really well, when in fact you hate it. You find it almost impossible to revise due to exhaustion and panic attacks. Plus, you might feel guilty for not living up to some part of family or cultural expectations, but you don't tell anybody. Thus, you hold down anger or resentment at having to live a lie. Now, the fourth positionality is from which individual aspect of your personality are you communicating from at that moment? The introvert, the extrovert, the warrior, the settler, the nomad. And which of their personality aspects is listening or interacting with you? Now, of course, this is a more advanced variant of positionality number 2, the characters, because these are just aspects of the mind, voices within your mind. However, in this stance, this enables the complete transition of our whole mind and body into a more clearly defined total persona. We are stepping into the warrior. No, thank you, I don't want to do that. Or we can step into the settler. Oh, how can I help you with that? Or perhaps a more nomadic stance. Oh, I'm glad that problem is yours and not mine. I'll leave you now to give you the space to sort that out. Bye. Obviously, as you start to do these things, it might surprise or shock those around you because you're not living up to the virtual expectation they have of you. But this is a phase that you'll need to go through as you disrupt and then reform their virtual reality story of the new you who you're becoming. Then we have positionality number 5. What is your energy signature like at that moment? As I detailed in my last guided meditation, audio for cutting the cords, how much energy are you bringing to the communication, or indeed losing through this communication? Let me give you an example. Last week I was in a coffee shop where 2 waitresses were serving. One was highly energized. She was smiling and interacting, zooming around and anticipating everybody's needs. Then the other was slow, quiet, and responding to everybody's needs. Now they both did a good job, but one of them left a far greater energetic, or you might say emotional impression. I heard at least 2 other tables commenting positively about the more vibrant and the more emotionally engaged waitress. And as I was paying, I said to her, "You have a very positive energy and the people here really like it." And she said, "I know." And she just smiled. She gets it. She knows that she can consciously influence how others see her and treat her. She's not leaving it down to luck or saying, "I can't act that way, I'm a shy person, it's just the way I am, what can I do?" No, she's taking responsibility for influencing her outcomes and her opportunities in her life. I'm sure she gets more tips, better shifts, and is likely to be offered other jobs, even if she's faking it to do that job. It's just a job. It doesn't matter what you think you are. What matters is, are you thinking and acting like a great waiter? They say fake it till you make it. And I guess that's just another expression for exposure therapy, or just plain doing new things in new ways until they become a more natural expression of yourself. And then there's interaction number 6, which I will introduce you to later on in this video. So can you see how complex even a simple interaction with another person could be if you become consciously aware of the bigger picture? Okay, let's just regroup for a second. Why am I teaching you all these skills and not talking about OCD thoughts or your anxiety? Okay, it's because you have anxiety because of who you are, how you were programmed, okay? How you think and how your body responds to those thoughts, okay? The chemical soup that you create and you live within, okay? Your values and your beliefs about yourself and the world, and due to the assumptions that you make about yourself based on how others are treating you. Now, it really is that simple. Do you remember my rules for recovery? Number 1, you can't think your way out of anxiety because anxiety is the result of thinking and worrying too much. then number two, you can't remove anxiety and remain the same person. You must change how you think and how you behave. Number three, you are the observer of the brain's thoughts. Plus, thoughts have no meaning except the meaning you give them, and they can be ignored. Number four, if your body is anxious, all it means is that your brain has rightly or wrongly told the body to release stress chemicals into your bloodstream, which are agitating your body. Therefore, how the body feels in any moment should not stop you from taking action. As I've said many times, when I see a nervous person really pushing themselves, all I see is courage. Vulnerability with action equates to courage, okay? Irrespective of the outcome of that action. And then finally, number five, is it actually anxiety you're experiencing, or are you being triggered by a past trauma that's being released at that moment? So therefore, by becoming a new person who thinks and behaves in new ways, we can eliminate avoidable anxiety. And then we learn to be comfortable with helpful anxiety, like that which we may experience if we ask for a pay rise, or if we end an abusive relationship, or if we try something new, or if we stand up for what we believe in. So to try and demonstrate this process in action, I would like to role play two scenarios based upon an imaginary job interview. In scenario one, I play myself 30 years ago, and in scenario two, the me of today. And although I'm exaggerating a little bit for effect, I hope that you can get the point. So in this first scenario, here's how I would have behaved 30 years ago when I had my anxiety and before I learned many of the things that I'm teaching you here. So the day before the interview, I would have made myself quite anxious, worrying about all the things that could go wrong and doubting myself and focusing on my weaknesses instead of my strengths. The night before, I would have disrupted my sleep as I made myself even more anxious, worrying that not sleeping would worsen my performance at the interview. Then in the morning, I'd dress in the way that I was taught to dress for an interview. I would put on my best suit, even though suits made me feel uncomfortable and I hated wearing a jacket and a tie, but I did it because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be seen to be doing the right thing. Now, once at the interview, out of all the communication strategies that I just listed, the virtual reality story of me, the characters in my head, my best face, warriors, settlers, nomads, and my energy signature, the only one I knew back then was best face. To put forward the best parts of me, to hide the worst elements, and to demonstrate how I could adapt to that job and fit into what I perceived their company's culture was. So I'd sit up straight and I'd smile and I'd put my best face forward. And if I was asked a question like, John, are you a good team worker? My answer would probably be something like, yeah, I'm good in a team. I respond well to good management. I like structure. I like helping others. And I enjoy being part of something larger than myself. My assumption being that if they were asking me this question, then this was the answer that they were looking for. Another question may have been, are you okay working late or doing overtime when needed? And I probably would have said something like, I'll do whatever it takes to make this a success. You have my full commitment. And so it would have gone on with me trying to be friendly, to fit in, to please them, considering more about what they wanted from me rather than what I wanted from them. And therefore, by the end of the interview process, the interviewing team would all have had a virtual reality story in their minds of who I was and how I was likely to perform. But that wasn't necessarily the truth of who I really was. In my naivety back then, I didn't know about competency-based interviewing techniques. I wasn't aware of psychometric profiling or behavioral profiling. I thought that being nice and telling them what I thought they wanted to hear was the right thing to do. And can you see that if they had given me that job, they would have treated me in line with the virtual reality story that I had implanted in their minds. He's a nice guy who needs to be managed within a team and happily do all the overtime we need him to do. And that's how they would have treated me if they'd given me the job. But that was just my best face story. In truth, I don't like operating within a team, and I certainly don't like working weekends. And it would have made me angry how they treated me, but it was me who programmed them to do it. And it's the same with our families, our partners, our friends, and even our children. I hope this is making sense. Now, before I dive into interview number 2, based on who I am these days, let me bring in positionality number 6. And that is, can you be your authentic self and tell the truth? Do you know who you are? What do you really want from any situation or any interaction? How can you live with self-esteem, self-worth, and courage? Do you value your time? Do you value your knowledge and your capabilities? Are you brave enough to tell the truth? So in this second scenario, things become a lot more honest and authentic. And firstly, is this interview for a job, a career, or a vocation? Because depending on which of these it is, it will absolutely affect the tools I use to generate their virtual reality story of me. There's probably a video I need to make just about that statement. Is my work a job, a career, or a vocation? And am I treating it accordingly? Anyway, back to my interview. I would have done any preparation work needed to explore the company, to explore the position in the market. I would have asked myself the questions I would have expected the employer to ask me, so I at least had considered my answers. I would have asked myself what value I thought I would be bringing to them. So even if they didn't ask me a specific question on that, I could have woven that into other answers, thus influencing their virtual reality. And then I probably would have slept well the night before, because I've learned to be less hooked by my thoughts and to recognize that one of the most potent responses I consciously have to my unconscious is the comment, I don't know. Will I get the job? I don't know. Am I good enough for that job? I don't know. Okay. Will the traffic delay me and make me late? I don't know. What will I do if I don't get that job? I don't know. Who said we should know these things? These are just the mind's virtual reality stories about a future that hasn't happened yet. Those thoughts serve no purpose, okay, except to hold you back through fear and through doubt. And then I would wear what makes me feel comfortable and what I would likely be wearing if I did that job. I might wear a suit, but I wouldn't wear a tie, because these days my authentic self just hates them, okay? It's just not me. Then within the interview, I would be asking myself, what personality do I think the interviewer was, okay? And which of my personalities would be right for the interview and the job? Perhaps even answering questions really truthfully that may seem contradictory. Like saying, well, there's a dominant side of me that likes taking control and taking action. But equally, there's a side to me that can rein that in and recognize when there is the need to listen or offer a consensus. I would be considering how much energy to bring into the interview. If it was for a funeral home, maybe calmness and reverence might be the right energy. For a service job, maybe engagement and warmth. And for a managerial role, maybe authority, presence and vision. So, back to my authentic and honest self. If I was asked that first question again, John, are you a good team worker? My response would probably be, if you want the best from me, either have me run the team or keep me out of the team. My skills are based on problem solving, facilitating, and rapid response solutions. I work fast, creatively, and with a great attention to detail. And this may alienate some other people in a team environment. However, I do recognize the importance of high-functioning teams. And then for the second, John, are you okay with working late and overtime? My authentic response would be, Monday to Thursday, you have my total commitment, whatever it takes to be successful. However, Friday evening and the weekends, they're for my family. My work-life balance is essential to me and my health. And I would take that authenticity right through the interview. So if they didn't offer me the job, then good, because I would have been the wrong person for it. However, if they did offer me the job, their virtual reality of me and how they might treat me had already been formed in their minds. Now, I know this is a very simplistic example, but the concept is very powerful. Even on a first date, rather than hiding behind your best face, it might be very prudent right from the start, okay, to be very authentic. That way, if there are mismatches, okay, you discover them immediately on the first date and not on date number 7. Now, one of my favorite relationship coaches is a lady called Alison Armstrong. And she says, don't call them dates, call them data gathering and sorting encounters. How quickly can you qualify them in or out based on you being honest and authentic, okay, about what you're looking for from a partner and from a relationship? It's harsh, but it's very powerful, okay? It's very helpful. And one last tip that works well is to evaluate your friends and family and ask yourself, what are they not doing for me that I would like them to be doing? Okay? And then do that very thing back to them. If they don't call you enough, start calling them. Okay? If they don't ask you to go out enough, well, then ask them to go out. If they never visit, go visit them. If they're not supporting you enough, start supporting them. Can you see that this process is all about influencing and communicating in intelligent ways? Okay? So, as we move forward into the second half of this video, I want to teach you a meditation technique for learning how to not be hooked or distracted from your mind and all the things that are happening around you. And as I mentioned in other videos, I've done a lot of meditation over the years, and I've explored deeply what worked best for me. I found that sitting like a monk in silence, trying not to let my awareness attach to any thoughts or emotions, it's very hard, okay? Especially in the beginning, because your mind is so busy and so noisy and the thoughts are so intrusive. What I found useful were contemplations or active meditations that enhanced skills that allowed you to detach from your thoughts and your concepts of the mind and to break the addiction to the brain's thinking, okay? And to escape the need or the perception of the need to control everything and understand everything and be hyper aware for your safety. So I would like to introduce you to one of my favorite walking meditations, where the goal is to walk along and not allow your attention to be hooked by either inner thoughts or the external world around you. For me, it's best done in busy areas like shopping malls, but you can also do it walking out in nature. Now, the first action is to count your steps working in groups of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then you start to align your breathing, okay, with the steps. So you may exhale, and then on the breathing in, 4 steps, 4 steps, 4 steps. You breathe out for 4 steps, you breathe in for 4 steps. Breathe out for 4 steps, you breathe in for 4 steps. And as you get into this pattern, okay, once you get that sorted out, we introduce the next phase, which is to move our fingers in line with each step. So with each step you take, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the breath as well. So, and then breathing in. It's a bit like that sort of thing you do here. It takes a little bit to figure it out, but once you get going, you can get the pattern moving quite well. Why are we doing this? Okay, why are we doing all this stuff here? What we're doing is we are trying to give your conscious mind something to focus on to help it from not being hooked by your unconscious thoughts or all the happenings that are going on around you. It'll take a minute or so to get the pattern working. 4 steps, okay, 4 fingers, and each breath lasts 4 seconds. 4 steps coming out and 4 steps coming in. Now, once your walk is underway, you stay silent, and your goal is to not let anything distract you from the step, breath, finger patterns. So to do this, as you walk, don't allow the focus of your eyesight to fall on any one thing except for the area that you're walking for your own safety. You try to keep your eyesight diffused or out of focus. So as much as your ego wants you to look in the shop window or to read that billboard or to look at that person coming towards you, you don't look. You are denying your ego its need to see everything and to check everything and to control everything. If a person calls your name, you don't turn around. If there's a big commotion going on, you ignore it. How can you keep your attention on your hands, your fingers, and your breath, and not letting your gaze be hooked at all by everything that's happening around you? You are denying your ego, your protective personality, all the data it's searching for. Now, will it kick and scream a bit? Probably. See, your ego thinks it's keeping you safe, but it's not. It's keeping you trapped with fear-based worries, with catastrophizing thoughts and anxious feelings. I guess what I'm asking you to do here is to become neutral, to everything, okay? To drop all your opinions and your judgments, just be with the motion of walking, breathing, and moving your fingers. Now, in the beginning, your mind will nab you, or some external event will catch your attention. That's fine. Just bring your attention back to the steps, the breath, and the fingers. Now, the more you do this, the easier it will become as you desensitize your brain from its conditioned hyper-vigilant state. Okay. And another thing that you'll find is that when you return from the walk, you'll feel surprisingly calm and surprisingly refreshed. Now, there are other adaptations of this too, as you get used to it. So, for example, if you're waiting for a train, gaze at your phone, but with it turned off. Okay, so there's no distractions. You're just looking at the blank screen of your phone. And once again, don't let any noise or any person or any event that's happening around you distract you from looking at the blank screen. And if you get distracted, okay, you can just smile to yourself. Okay, they got me. No, it's not a problem. And you just bring your focus, your attention back to your blank phone screen. You are learning how to keep the conscious focus of your attention on what you want, not what your mind wants. Okay? And as ever, if ignoring everything around you brings on anxiety, that's okay. It's not a problem. Sag your body, and in a soft, slow voice, either out loud or in your head, I surrender to this. I surrender to this discomfort. Everything is fine. I'm safe. I trust myself to let go. And if you're queuing, okay, or waiting, you can use these times really, really effectively to keep learning how to stay out of the stories, the opinions, and the judgments that the mind is throwing up at you in those moments. As I've said before, there's only now, and in this now, you're in a queue. It's as simple as that. Don't fight it. No fretting or complaining will alter the fact, so accept it. You can use it as a beautiful time to practice not being distracted. Perhaps place your conscious awareness on a spot on the wall, or place your conscious awareness on your big toe. I don't mind, okay? Anything that stops your conscious awareness being distracted by the unconscious thoughts or all the things going on around you. And you'll soon see that the mind has a story about everything and everyone. Okay? And what we're learning to do is to detach from those old patterns because they're out of date and they just do not serve us well. Now, there's no wrong way to learn this detachment. You just need to find a way that works for you. Another one that worked well for me is NMP. Not my problem, It's another valuable tool from detaching from any moment. Most things that go on around you, okay, are not your problem. So stop taking responsibility for them. Take responsibility for training your observer, to keep her focus, her attention, her awareness in one place. And to learn how to keep it there, this is an absolute game changer. Still, it'll take a lot of effort. And as ever, repetition, repetition, and more repetition are key to your growth. So, a quick summary. Can you explore the 6 aspects of communication? Virtual reality, the characters, your best face, warriors, settlers, nomads, your energy signature, and most important, your authentic self. What you really want from yourself and others. You know? Reprogram those around you. Update their old virtual reality stories of you so they can begin to treat you differently. How can you learn to say no more often? How can you learn to ask for what you want more often? How can you put yourself first more often? How can you tell people what you want from them so they don't need to guess what you want from them? These are all very powerful techniques for you to step into your own authenticity and to learn courage. And then the walking meditation, where we're slowly learning to be in the world, but not getting hooked by it or our mind's stories about it. And finally, your homework. A 20-minute meditation walk each day, and start becoming more authentic, more honest, more truthful, okay? And that will generate a new virtual reality in you, of you, and for everybody around you, of you. This is powerful stuff. So, enjoy letting go, and I'll see you all in the next video. You're doing well. Thanks a lot.